Die is assembled. Got a piece of copper in there. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's take top off. You just saw and heard the blanking function of the die works great. Really happy with that. Also, wasn't too worried. As long as you pay attention to what you're doing, just like we've done, shouldn't have a problem blanking 30 thou thick copper like this. Let's take a closer look at the blank. Circumference looks great. The edge looks great. You know, pretty much as we expected. We can take a look at the raw material strip as well, and you can see a real nice hole. So I'm happy with that. Let's move on. Let's get this project wrapped up. Next step is we're going to make the internal pin that you see here in the CAD model. This is what I'm calling a punch now that sits inside the die we've already made, and as you can see, it will help form the cup. I've got a 1-inch piece of 1144 chucked up in the forge jaw. The part itself will end up being 456 in diameter for 3/4 of an inch, and then another 3/4 of an inch in length at the slip fit diameter to go inside the die of 704. We're going to cut the first diameter, which we do want to polish. So we're going to cut that 2 thou over. I want to get more comfortable with accuracy on this lathe. And one of the tips I had learned before but had forgotten about, and thanks to a viewer for throwing out in the comments on episode 7, is throw an indicator on your crossfeed. Then you can use that in lieu of a dial and you know where you're going. This thing doesn't lie. You just need to make sure it's both parallel and with the plane and perpendicular with the face of your quick detach. So according to our calculator, 1 inch, we want to end up at 458. That's 2 thou over. That's 271 of movement on the crossfeed. I want to turn this diameter down to 458. The other thing I've got is I grabbed one of our pin gauges, so we'll use the pin gauge to make sure each time we put our mic on there, our mic is sort of calibrated, just to make sure we don't goof there, and we should be able to match that diameter. After that, we'll polish it, then we'll cut this down. So let's get going here. We'll start with a 100 thou cut and see how that does. Okay, no problem there. We'll take another 100. And this time we'll zero out our indicator. So now we've got a reference point. Okay, so our indicator's on 0. Let's just see where we're at. I get 540 on the calipers. Let's see where we mic out at. Okay, I get to 540 and 6/10. We have 5406. 540 thou and 6/10. That's what I measure. We want 458. Reminder, that's 2 thou over. We're going to sand that down to polish that down. But to get to 458, we should take 41 thou and 3/10. I want to read 42 thou here. So there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2. Okay, not too hot. Now let's see what we did. Okay, that reads right on 458. I read that we are at 458 and 7/8 or 7/10 or so. Now I'll stick my pin gauge in there and just see. Yeah, so that is dead on. Okay, so we're half a thou over. I'm okay with that. The one thing I did notice, and again, I'm still getting used to this machine, is the dial indicator actually moved about, coincidentally, about half a thou out due to, I guess, due to tool pressure. So that's something I got to pay attention to, and should be repeatable, so you should be able to adjust for it going forward. Let's swap out to a radius tool bit and put a radius on this before we start polishing. This is probably too big of a radius tool bit, but it's the only one I've got, so we're going to give it a try. I'm going to run it at full speed at first, but hand feed it in. If that's too fast, we may slow her down. I like that. I'm going to come in here though, and I guess I'm going to try to give it sort of 3 edges. You saw I cut in the middle section with the tool, like so, and then I came over here and cut with the end. Let's take a little bit off the tip there. I like that. You know, we'll see if that ends up being a good radius for the jackets, but in terms of the machining, hard to complain about that. Okay, now let's break out our sanding stuff. We're at 458.5, so we've got 2.5 thousandths to sand down. So we'll take a few passes with this 100 grit and see where we are. I find you really have to be patient. If you don't sand with an even pressure, you can put a taper into the part. Those 100 grit strips seem to cut more aggressively than they did yesterday. I'm just a few tenths over 456, but that's okay. I think I can work with that. So what we're going to do now is work up quickly with a set of 320, then 400, 600, 800, and 1000 grit sandpaper. We'll just kind of having fun here, and then we'll throw some of that polishing compound on here, and hopefully we can get a real nice mirror finish. Okay, really happy with the surface finish so far. We haven't even applied our polish, and I can see a little bit of mirror to it. Let's see. Okay, I am going to be half a thou under on this. I want it to be spot on. I can work with this. I don't love it. I may end up remaking this because of that. I'm going to go grab some polishing compound, and we'll see if this pops. That looks pretty good. Okay, again, the camera brings out the worst in it, but you can see, hopefully in the reflection, this thing looks awesome. Hopefully it'll be a better view when we go put it all together. Very happy with that job. Now let's cut the major diameter down to slip into our die. We've got a 1-inch piece. We want to end up at around 704. So that would be 700 would be 150 thou on the cross feet. So we're going to take 100, measure where we are, and then we're going to sneak up on this as well and use our sandpaper to get a nice slip fit inside the die. So dial in 100, turn our lathe on, and off we go. You can hear there is some chatter there, but doesn't seem to affect the surface finish, which is interesting. Nevertheless, probably an unnecessarily heavy cut. Okay. The Keith Fenner from Turn Right Machine Works has some of the best YouTube videos out there, and I love his phrase. He calls these things guessometers. I'm getting 789. Let's see what we get on our. So start at 8. Yeah, I'm getting 11 and a half under 8, so that's 788 and a half. So grab our calculator. We want to be at 704. 788 and a half means we need to take 42 on our cross feet to make the whole cut. We'll take 41 to give us a thou or two to work with. So 10, 20, 30, 40. So by my math, this should put us at 706. We'll see where we are. We'll see how that holds up. Okay, I'm at 15, back it out, get out of the way, come back to my mark in case I need to cut again. Okay, let's see where we are. $705 and a half. We're going to break this edge with a file, and then we're going to file down our surface here just a hair and start seeing how our fit feels. Let's test our fit here. Okay, we can barely get over the front edge there, which we've obviously put a slight bevel on when we filed it. Let's do some sandpaper now. Now the fun thing about doing this is you can kind of match the fit. We probably have some degree of taper running along this hole. So what we do is we just test fit it. But you can see out here on the edge, we are at 704, on the money. But if we come back here, we're at 705 and a half. So we've sanded a little bit, and let's test fit it. That's awesome. Now I want it to be a hair looser than that. So let's sand it just a little bit more, but that's going to be a great fit. This isn't going to take much, and I'm going to try to concentrate the pressure of the sandpaper in the back quarter there. Okay, let's see what that does. sand it just a hair more. Perfect. Bring you around here so you can see it. Like so. Absolutely no play to that whatsoever. The cutting plane is the larger surface here. How much below, if at all, is the top of the centerpiece, which is the punch for the cupping op? What I'm going to do is have it just ever so slightly below it. And the way I'm going to secure these two parts together is by reaming a hole through the whole body and then using a dowel pin, and that'll let me take this punch out if I need to. So let's fire up the Tormach, hop over here and take care of that right now. I take back what I just said. What we actually want to do is set the top of the punch about 30 thousandths below the cutting plane. That way the blank can fully shear before it comes in contact with the top of the punch. This still may be something I experiment with in the future and change. I think this is a safer place to start. So what I'm going to do is grab a depth mic, this tool here where the pin protrudes out in thousandths of an inch, and put it over here and dial in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. We're going to drill with a letter C, which is 242 thou, and then we're going to ream with a high quality American-made 250 even chucking reamer. One last change. I realized I didn't like the position of that part in the vise to drill a proper through hole, so grabbed a set of V-blocks and we pinched it in between those. It is a close fit. The drill bit will fit between the gap just fine. So tighten that back up, and I grabbed a blank that we just cut just for kicks, and if you see when I set that in there, it pushes right against the top face of the die nice and flush. So I like that depth for the punch itself. Now let's go ahead and drill it. Got plenty of room here. Let's go. I swapped out the drill bit for a reamer. Add some fluid here, and I'm going to feed this in with the keyboard on Mach 3. Sorry about the foggy lens there, folks. The camera shut off on me again, don't know why, but we reamed the hole. Now the big test. Let's take our dowel pin. Perfect. I don't want to tap too hard, but before we take it out of the fixture, I want to make sure it does fit in there. Perfect. I'm sure that's at least through the punch, so I'm comfortable now taking it out. You'll see, major goof, not paying attention. Doubly bad. I spotted here, I drilled there. I honestly don't know how I moved over. I did have to charge the camera battery between drills, but that's, again, no excuse. And I wanted it down here the whole time. We got lucky. It didn't punch through the inside wall there, so it's going to be fine, but, check twice, folks. I usually don't make mistakes like that, but nevertheless, I did this time. But it looks great. That's it. That's a wrap for this episode. Next episode, we're going to make the mating die for this, and that'll be it. And then we're going to try to make some cups. If you've enjoyed the video, please do me a favor, like it, comment below. What are you guys fascinated about this? What do you want to see? And otherwise, we'll take it from there. Thanks, folks.